Hello, welcome back to my channel. I am Tamara Joy, your faith-fueled realtor. So most of you know that I love teaching real estate agents about how to have a faith-fueled business, and a lot of times it's different than what you think. And today I want to talk about why success still feels empty and what Proverbs 9 actually taught me in my own business that I want to share with you. So, most of you know that I love Jesus. I love learning about God, and I love finding the heartbeat of God's mindset and Jesus's mindset in all the things that I do. And so today I really want to talk about something that I think a lot of people really like silently wrestle with. And that is, why does success always feel empty? When I feel like I'm doing everything right, why do I just feel off even when I have a closing or get a client? Why do we finally get the thing we prayed for? And instead of feeling fulfilled, we just feel really heavy and tired. We feel disconnected. Like we should be way happier than what we are. And if I can relate to this on any level, I'm probably way up here. But maybe for you, this is not where you're at. Maybe it's something else in your life and it's not business. But, for me, I know that most real estate agents battle with this some way, somehow. And so, what I want to talk to you about today is really maybe why we feel that empty place and how you can potentially fix it. Okay. So bear with me as I go through some of this. We're just going to kind of walk through this and figure out why and how we can fix this. And so I want to tell you something that really changed my life and my business. And it's this that this feeling does not mean that something is wrong with you. That's number one. It actually means something really beautiful. And it could mean that your soul is actually really trying to tell you that success was really never designed to satisfy you. And I believe that success was actually designed to express what is already established inside of you. And that realization just really changed the way that I viewed God and how I view God in my business and in my life, and just how I wanted to continue growing. And it really changed the way that I was growing and developing myself. And it all started with this one verse. It all started with Proverbs 9:1. And Proverbs 9:1 says, "Wisdom has built her house. She has set up its seven pillars." And when I first read that, I thought, oh my gosh, my faith field agent program has pillars in it. I talk about pillars. So I was like, okay, I know that God is talking to me through this. And I was like, why would God mention pillars? Why would you not just say wisdom built the house? And so here's me trying to be a detective, trying to figure all of that out. But here's why. Like, God is so intentional. And I believe that this verse really reveals something very powerful. Like, God builds in order. We build outcomes, but God builds foundations, right? So, as a real estate agent, if we think about this, like if we're in new construction, we always talk about the foundation. The foundation comes first. The first 30 days is all of the site work and, getting everything prepped for the house to actually go into framing and really be in production, right? And so when we're talking about how God builds the foundations, it's like, okay, foundations determine whether success becomes a blessing or a burden. And there's been so many times in my life and in real estate, especially, it's like I'm successful. I still feel like so heavy. And what I saw is that this is saying, like, the house is our life. This is your life. And so this is where I want to start. Okay. So the house represents your life, your relationships, your business, your family, your health. Oh my gosh. And guess what? Your calling, your emotions, your identity. It's everything. It's everything. And wisdom is the builder. Wisdom is the builder of all of these things. And notice this, God never starts with success. It took him 6 days to create all things, and then he rested, right? He didn't have the success first and then start creating. He created and then he had the outcome, okay? And what I love so much is that God starts with structure. And here's why. So, because whatever holds up your life becomes your foundation. And if we really are reflecting and being aware and honest, you got to think about, okay, what does that look like for me? Some people build on approval, some are built on achievement, some build it on money, some build it on being needed or very, very like codependent. Some build it on performance. That was me. I realized not long ago, actually, it was about a year ago when God really started working with me on building my program. I realized how much my own identity was tied to my productivity in real estate. When I would do a lot of business, I felt really good. When I didn't, I felt awful. And I really started leaning into that, which brought me to here, right? But the one thing we have to remember is that eventually every foundation in your life is going to get tested. And if your foundation cannot carry your life that you have or that you're building, your house begins cracking. And Jesus talks about building your house on a rock and not sand. And that's why people can look really successful and still feel very, very broken. Success does not always mean that you're healthy, that you're rich. It doesn't, mean that you have it all together. Success can actually expose what was already really weak in you. Money can amplify things, influence can amplify things, business amplifies things. And success really reveals the structure behind that. And that's why these pillars matter. So when God talked about these 7 pillars, I was like, oh, wow, I need to learn why God uses pillars. I need to figure this out. So let's think about pillars in an actual house. Okay. So pillars are distributing weight. And without pillars, okay, the roof is going to cave, right? Pressure collapses things. We have the greater the structure, like the stronger of the support system needed to hold everything together and brace whatever that is that sits on top, right? And then all of a sudden I realized when I was talking to God, I kept asking God for more. I'm like, keep on, like talking to me through this. And he was like, yeah. He was like, this is more opportunities, more growth, more clients, more impact. You keep asking for it, but you don't have the capacity, the strength, the structure to carry it. And I was like, what do you mean, God? I'm like, what do you mean I don't have the capacity or the structure to carry it? And it's funny because God kept bringing me back to this one question. He was like, can your pillars carry what you're asking for? And I was like, oh gosh, let's dig deep here. Because God was like, I'm not just concerned with you getting the things that you want. I want you to have the things that you want, but I want them to like sustain them through you. Like, I want you to be able to keep them, and that's wisdom. And that's where success gets attention, structure creates longevity. And so we're going to walk through these 7 pillars to help you understand maybe where you could create one or strengthen one. So pillar 1 is your identity. Okay. Identity answers, who am I before I produce? Who am I before I talk to a buyer, a seller? Who am I before I even start working in the day? And this pillar changed everything for me because so many people build identity around outcomes and success in the numbers that they see on, what their work is saying. It's like, who am I? How many houses I've sold? Am I a good mom? Am I putting my kids in enough sports? Am I doing this? Am I doing that? And what happens is that when that season changes in you, or you don't have that, you are then all of a sudden empty. And so your identity was really built on these performance tasks that actually create a lot of fear because you don't know who you are without them. And if you don't have them, you instantly think you failed and you become afraid, and you're afraid to then slow down. You're afraid to rest. And then God starts differently. And that's what I want you to picture here. So when we have the pillar of identity, and get this, like before Adam worked, he belonged, right? If we go way back to Adam and Eve, he belonged somewhere. He belonged in the garden. Before Jesus ministered, God said, to Jesus, "This is my son who I love," right? So he already had an identity about him. So identity comes before any assignment, it comes before anything that we do. It is not here to judge us, right? And without identity, success will feel like pressure. You work from a completely different place. And if you're like me, when I'm under pressure, I actually do nothing. I don't do anything. It slows me down. It's so noisy in my head. But with identity and knowing who you are in God, success becomes overflow. So I want you to ask yourself today, who am I when nothing external changes? And let that really sink in. Get a pen and paper, write it down. Who am I when nothing external changes? And then we're going to come to pillar 2, and that's vision. Why do I love vision so much? Well, God gave us an imagination to imagine things, to vision things, to see where we are going. He tells us to follow the lamp at our feet, right? So that we can just take step by step by step. And here's what's so beautiful about it is that vision actually answers a lot of questions for us, whether we realize it or not. So vision, when we're looking at this in life or as business, it's answering the question, what am I actually building here? It brings us to goals. It brings us to our destination. Vision is direction. Okay. Imagine yourself going on a trip and you and your husband, well, let's say husband, you're going to go to Tennessee and you look at a map and you're looking at the roadway and you're like, okay, we got to go here, 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 and here. If you're just like, oh, we're going to Tennessee, you would be so lost along the way because you'd have no visual aspect of what you're doing, right? So vision is direction, okay? And God gives you vision. He helps you create vision because he is a creator and he calls us to create with him. And the reason why he does this is so that you can achieve goals and you can still build a life, right? He doesn't want you to do this and then build a life that you don't want. He wants you to have vision because it forces you in relationship and connection and alignment with him. And so you got to ask is who do I want to become? How do I want my family to feel? What do I want my business to look like? Show me this, God. And why does this matter? Why do you need this as a pillar? Is because what would a fulfilled life look like if you didn't have a vision for it? Right? What would happen? You would drift. You would end up somewhere where you didn't want to be. And with vision, you get to build. And that's what God's really trying to tell us here. He's like, I want you to build. I want you to know where you're going. And I want you to know that you're guided. And I want you to see that I have good plans for you. Okay. And then pillar 3 is that God is the source of all things. Now, this pillar may be probably the most important. Why? Because you got to ask yourself, who is your source, right? How many of us are always scrambling to find more ways or more clients or more money, right? Where is it going to come from? What if God is trying to show you that he is the source and where this emptiness often starts, God wants to be your supplier because success is always empty when we expect that we can only do it on our own. And God's like, no, you need to trust me that I am going to bring you business. I'm going to provide you the tools and the resources that you need. I'm going to make a way for clients to find you. I'm going to do this and help you. I am not here for you to do it on your own. And this is where pillar 3, we need to see God as our source. He says in the Bible, I will give you all the desires of your heart. It is a promise. He says, ask, believe, receive. He never ever says, I can't give you anything. God is not sitting up in heaven saying, I'm stressed. I don't have money to pay this. I don't have clients to give you. Like, he is waiting for us to rely on him. And so what I love so much about this, even for myself, is that I have learned is that my business cannot be secure without having him a part of it. And money cannot make me peaceful in my business. And relationships cannot complete my identity or the relationships I have with my clients. Like, followers cannot create belonging in all of this. And when I'm saying that, it's just like, it's trusting that these things are channels, but God is the source. Like, he is the source of giving me all those things that I just listed, right? And when God does become the source, your results stop controlling your emotions. And if you're a lot like me, like, you're fickle, your emotions are going up and down. They're all over the place. One day you're high, one day you're low, because we're trying to manipulate everything and do everything on our own because we don't know where the things are coming from. And we feel like we are running out. And God is saying, no, like, I am your source. I am overflowing. I have more than you could ever ask for, think, or imagine. I have all that you need, because your peace is no longer attached to outcomes, right? We trust that God is going to always provide. And so pillar 3, in knowing that you have God as your source, is a huge factor in holding up your house. It really is. And that brings me to pillar 4. This is your mindset. Wow. Mindset. The Bible calls us to be transformed and renew our mind every single day. What does that look like, right? Well, I believe that mindset is really asking us a couple key indicators, couple key things. What am I believing? Only you can expand to the level of your thinking, right? Only to what it allows. But that's where God has, like, given us an imagination, a thought process, a way of choosing. We're the only people, creatures, if you'd say, creation that God has made that actually can choose something. We can choose left, we can choose right, we can choose success, we can choose failure, right? But what if our beliefs are saying, oh my gosh, you're so behind. I never have enough. People leave me. People don't refer me. People don't like listing with me. I have to earn love. Like, what if our beliefs are that? And God is like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Like, you are not supposed to carry those beliefs at all. Like, you are not supposed to be agreeing with them at all. And that's where God is like, I need to make sure that every day that you are renewing your mind to be able to expand your capacity to hold what it is that you're building. I need you to transform your mind every day to believe the thoughts that I think of you, to believe the truth, to renew your mind, to renew the truth, and to not agree with the things that are complete opposite, right? The enemy tries to steal things from us. The enemy makes us think that we are not worthy, not capable. We can't do this. We have to spend money. We have to, I'll just say this for myself, be on a team. We cannot do this on our own. The enemy is going to tell you the complete opposite of God. And you have to decide every day as you are building your house and creating a sustainable business, a sustainable life where you are not going up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, that you have the mindset to expand to the capacity of the life that you are trying to create. So renewing your mind every day is so important to success in business, success in life, in relationships. And how you do that is by staying close to God, listening to worship music, listening to life-giving podcasts, sermons, reading books that expand the way that you think, act, and feel, talking to God just outwardly. Like, all these things renew your mind. And then having the faith to believe that you can actually control your thoughts. And that when a thought comes that does not align with where you're going, that you have the right to not agree with it and take it captive. Okay. So pillar 4, mindset. You need that as a part of your house. You got to make sure that that is a key pillar to you building your house. Okay. Pillar 5, faith. So Faith is the things that we are believing for that we cannot see, right? Faith says, can I move before the evidence arrives? Well, if you're in real estate, this is really hard, right? We work, work, work. We work for 90 days before we get a paycheck. Sometimes it could be longer than that, right? But the average house cycle is about 90 days. 30 days, you're trying to get clients pre approved. 30 days, you're looking for properties to buy. Then you find one, and then you're waiting for it to close, right? We are the only people in this world that work for free for months until we actually get paid. So, this part is a key component to building a house that is lasting. You have to have faith. You have to be able to believe that there is more coming for you and that you are tying your outcomes to being faithful in the field, to being faithful in the actions of everyday steps, not sitting there waiting for something to happen. God calls us to have faith through trusting that how He is guiding us is going to bring us to where we want to go. And faith is trust, right? Faith is stability. Faith is staying rooted while outcomes are forming. And that's the hardest part about being a real estate agent is that you want instant satisfaction. And that is where most agents feel so empty. They're like, I made 20 calls. My life sucks, right? They're like, I did an open house. I didn't get a buyer. I'm not going to do them again. You feel empty, discouraged. And faith allows you to really stop like obsessing over timing, coming back to trust instead of control, right? God's like, I am your source. I'm going to give you everything that you need. And so when we're building a business, right, faith is the number one pillar. And by doing all of these little things, it's going to help strengthen your faith over time. Faith is trusting the process because it's being tied to the end, right? And you're like, God, I'm going to be faithful with these action steps that you're calling me to do. I'm going to be faithful with them every single day. And you just know, you don't know when, but you just know at some point, God is going to give you a harvest. Okay. So that's what I love about developing faith and having faith, because without faith, if I'm being real and honest with you, you panic. I panic. I have anxiety attacks. I mean, for 11 years, I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't do this. And I find myself sick, right? But with faith, you can just remain steady and have a knowing and a certainty about you that God's going to provide. He has a name, Jehovah Jireh, for a reason. And then pillar 6 is receivership. I can't talk. Pillar 6 is receivership. Now, I talked about a little bit ago, ask, believe, receive, right? God tells us to do 3 things. But how can we receive anything from God if we don't have open hands? How can we receive if we are constantly gripping so tightly? And this is where people hustle. They're like, if I don't do X, Y, Z, I will get nothing, right? They have this fixed mindset that in order for them to have an outcome, they got to control it, right? And this is where I teach agents how to break free from hustle and renew your identity and mindset to create outcomes, thinking into results, right? So if we don't have open hands, right? Sometimes you've heard the saying that says, like, let go and let God. If we don't have open hands, how can God give us something? How can He hand us something if we're so closed off and we're like, no, God, I can't, I can't let you have this because I'm not going to get anything from you. And that's where God is like, I need you to be open to receive. I need you to relax. I need you to be open to receive. I need you to receive my support. I need you to receive the opportunities I'm bringing to you. I need you to receive rest, not rest as in go to sleep, but rest as in knowing that I'm here with you. I need you to receive my love. I want you to know that I love you so much, whether you do a lot or a little. He wants us to receive provision, that when we do receive outcome or money, like that we graciously receive it and say, thank you, God, for this, and that you don't feel like, oh, I didn't work very hard for this. He wants us to see money as a tool and a resource, because with that, we are able to serve more people. And that's why we're here. We're here to serve. And He has us in this space to serve people with real estate needs. And most of the time, when we have such a tight grip on things, God can't actually allow the blessings to flow through us. And I know this firsthand, that success feels empty because our nervous system only understands striving. I was there for years. And honestly, like, it's been in the last year that I have actually let myself not work as hard, and I have been receiving more. I made a commitment to myself. Like, I'm not taking Zillow leads. I'm not going to be an appointment runner. I'm not doing all of that. I want to learn to trust God more and more with my business. And let me tell you, He never fails. And what I love so much about God is, like, He is a giving God. He is a giving God. And so you got to ask yourself, can I receive? Can I receive what God has for me? And if you can't, you got to ask yourself why. And then you got to ask God to show you, how do I open my hands up to receive what you have for me, God, without feeling guilty? And He'll help you. And pillar 7 is probably the most favorite pillar that people love hearing about, and that's harvest. Harvest is those outcomes that you've been waiting for. It's the stewardship. And so you got to ask yourself, can you hold what you've built? Right? Can you maintain peace while growing? Can you multiply instead of consume? Right? Harvest means that you are also becoming responsible for increase, right? You're not attached to it. You're not like, oh my gosh, look what I did. And then you stop doing all of the things. Harvest is like watching what you have done over the last X amount of days, months. And all of a sudden, God's like, here you go. Like, look at how wonderful this is. And the one thing that I love so much is that when you start building off of these 7 pillars continuously every day, you have something coming to you. Every day you have God's favor. Every day you are holding on to something that you didn't build on your own. You built it with God. And guess what? You have the capacity to sustain it. And then God keeps giving you more and increasing and increasing and increasing. And the most beautiful thing about this is that this whole house that is built off wisdom and God's understanding and God's love and God's foundation, it is lasting. You have this peace and a knowing that you don't ever have to worry about things again. You just keep working through stuff. God keeps bringing you clients. You always have business. Your perception is different. Your mind is different. The way that you flow through your day is different. And you've realized that, wow, I have built something that actually has form, has structure to it. And that's what I love so much about this verse. And so when we come back to, why does success feel empty? Well, I believe that success was never meant to carry your soul. And I think a lot of people have that backwards because they're tied to worldly ways. Success cannot be identity. Absolutely not. Success cannot be purpose. Absolutely not. Success cannot be source. Absolutely not. It's not that at all. Success is fruit. And that's what I love. Like, this is teaching us that these pillars are the roots to something that is sustainable. Whether it's in your business or your life, the roots always determine the fruit. The roots determine how well a tree produces. And so if you feel empty today, I don't want you to just go ahead and assume that you need a bigger goal or anything like that. I want you to change your perspective and say, you know what? Maybe God's inviting me into something deeper. Maybe your next breakthrough is not this huge achievement or adding something else on your plate. Maybe it's strengthening one of these pillars. Maybe it is using wisdom in a different way rather than just decorating the house. You know, maybe it's using God's wisdom and understanding to actually build it from the ground up. And so this week, friends, I want you to ask yourself, which pillar needs attention? Is it one of them? Is it all of them? You know, is it my identity? Does my vision need to be revamped? Do I need to know who God is in a different way? Do I need to have a different mindset? Do I need to develop my faith? Do I need to work on my receivership? Is it harvest? Am I thinking too much about money and using it in a different way? Or do I not love money? Do I not like money? I just want you to think about that. And then I want you to comment below, like, which one stood out to you? And friends, I want you to remember that God is not trying to make you smaller. He is building you so strong and so big, so success becomes something that you can actually enjoy. He wants us to have the feeling of joy and love in everything that we do, because that is an expression of Him, and He wants you to be a light. And so, if this spoke to you today, I just hope that you feel less pressure and that you can actually start building a business that is structured and has order and is built with God's wisdom. This is what Proverbs 9 has taught me in my own business. Again, I am a Minnesota real estate agent. I am a faith-fueled coach. And if you need help in structuring a business, reach out to me, comment, leave me a message. I would love to walk alongside you. So again, thanks for being here today. Until next time, we'll talk to you again.